Hello everyone and welcome back to the start of our F1'24 My Team Career Mode. Yes, we're here today to set up the team and to dive into the first round of this campaign. Of course, Driver Career Mode is going to be, I'm sure, the main focus for most content creators on this year's game, but I still enjoy the My Team journey, and 212 Motorsport couldn't go anywhere. So this second channel, at least in the first few weeks, is probably going to be mainly focused on this series. I'm going to try and keep the uploads as daily as possible whilst I can, but of course, yeah, if you're interested in kind of like the really in-depth series, that is obviously going to be done over on the main channel. Get yourself subscribed though if you're new. At the time of recording this, we are very, very close to 1,500 subs, but of course with all the hype surrounding F1'24, I would love to try and get closer to 10k by the end of the year. But I'll be honest as well, obviously the first My Team video on the main channel will have already gone live. I'm actually recording this one, sorry, the first F1'S Career Mode video will have already gone live. I'm actually recording this one first though, just so I can sort of get an idea of the game before we dive into that series. So, of course, if you've watched any series from myself in the past, a lot of the setup is probably going to be very, very similar to what we have done in previous games. There will be timestamps linked down below if you just want to head forward to the bit you are most interested in. But, of course, I love doing these series as a proper, you know, nothing to zero to hero, if you will, kind of thing. So we're going to be setting up as a newcomer team. With tight resources, the team is expected to build before challenging for competitive results. So we're going to probably spend a lot of our time battling, you know, your Williams, your Kick Saubers, you know, your Haas, and all of those other cars. And obviously, you know, we're going to be doing full seasons as well. I want to try and keep full seasons on this game as best as possible. Now, there will be a couple of little tweaks relative to our normal career mode. Of course, we've got no assists whatsoever. I'm still just figuring out what AI level we want to run on this game. So I'm going to put it at Ultimate 101 for the moment. And we're going to be using short qualifying session. So it is just one session of qualifying on a Saturday, and then we are going to be doing still, of course, the 50% races that really kind of allow you a bit more strategy in the game as well. There any other settings we really need to look into? Of course, driver moves we're going to have, R&D, facility upgrades, all that good stuff, as you would expect. Safety cars obviously on. I'm going to leave the formation laps off, though, for this series, and you don't get many red flags unless you put it on increased there, so we're going to do that as well. Hard fuel mode, manual race starts. Car damage is going to be on full, but I believe car damage rate will mean that we want car damage on full. So I believe that, I believe that means obviously we can have mechanical failures as well there. And obviously the car damage rate, we're going to leave that on standard just because otherwise the game can be incredibly sensitive. And I believe that's everything in that regard. All good to go then. So let's head forward. Let's confirm those settings. I personally have got no real interest in using the My Team icons. You know, as much as I love Kamui Kobayashi, I think we're going to skip those and try and keep this series a little bit more simple early on. And we won't bother with the tutorial because, of course, we've done so many My Team series in the past. Let's go through all of the customizing options, and I'll see you guys at the other end. Well, if you were hoping for more customizable options inside F1'24, it doesn't seem that anything has really changed with the driver or anything like that, so we're keeping it normal for anyone that's been around these series in the past. You know, Mr. Monaco, because for some reason Matt isn't in the game still. But in terms then of the team, I think obviously we need to just do some customizable stuff. You know, you guys that have been around here for a while will know I pretty much just go all orange for most of these things because orange is my favorite color. And of course, you know, we love the orange team as well there. So seems like we can't really sort of change as much as I would like. Can I actually change anything about that? I don't believe I can. We've only got one race suit in the game at the moment, which is a little bit of an odd feature. So I guess we'll buy that. Maybe we need more customization down the line, but again, I'm not going to worry about that all too much there. So I guess we'll leave pretty much everything else as we would expect. Our podium emote and our victory radio call is going to be... I mean, let's listen in.
Yes, 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 guys, yes! Come on, boys! Nice one. Very lovely drive. On to the next one.
Well, I guess that's very much the Max Verstappen response, so we'll leave it with the default there as well. And in terms then of our car team details, I mean, nothing's really changed, has it? So, of course, as always, you know, we've got to be 212 Motorsport. But obviously, you know, the bigger things are going to be some of the other customizable options. Now, it's always a bit of a difficult one, Season 1, because you don't want to set your goals too high and miss out on a huge bonus heading into Season 2. But I reckon we basically want to try and just bag as much cash as we possibly can. So we're going to tell them that we reckon we can finish 8th or better in the Constructors' Championship this season, which will give us a $4,400,000 sign-up. Or staggeringly then, Red Bull Powertrains, actually the cheapest one in this year's game. That is a little bit odd. But I normally tend to go with Renault E-Tech, just because it's like the most realistic one that a new team will be able to get. Weirdly, is the second most durable engine, despite the fact it seems to be the only one that tends to go bang in real-life Formula 1. Well, Théo Pourchaire then, of course, winner of the Formula 2 Championship in 2023. I think he'll be a very, very popular option, and we actually had a lot of beef with him over the course of last year. I feel like Ollie Behrman will be another incredibly popular choice. I could be tempted by Zane Maloney, just because he's a little bit cheaper. But I'm going to actually get a Yuma Iwasa. I think he's a good driver. I think he's got a lot of promise. Has a little bit more experience than Behrman. Equal on pace, better awareness, slightly lower racecraft, but has the highest focus points as well there, and that will be useful early on as we try and maintain momentum early in the season. Well, there we go then, taking a look at our all-new Formula 1 car. We've gone with the orange theme, but we've also got quite a few little bits of space technology, if you will, as well there. So happy with how the car is looking as we head into the first round of the season. Of course, I'm sure when the full game does release, there's going to be a few more customizable options with that as well. But I'm happy with the car for now. It certainly is striking.
Hello and welcome to a very special Formula 1 live stream. Now, usually we run events like today to reveal a new car, but today is much more than just the car. It's about a brand new team, and one in which the owner also happens to be the lead driver. That's right, for the first time in modern F1 history, we're going to have an owner driver on the grid. And it's been a Herculean effort, a huge amount of resource and staff recruitment, and a brand new factory, one in which we are standing right now. And the small matter of producing a car that can take on the big names on the grid. So let's take a look at it now. Okay, let's introduce the person everyone is talking about, Formula One's new owner-driver. Now, I would have thought being an owner was stressful enough, but you're driving as well. So how are you going to approach taking on both the roles at the same time?
Well, for those of you that don't know, basically these questions do actually affect your early performance inside the game. You know, if you pick options that are going to hopefully emphasize different aspects, it'll mean, say, for example, your chassis department is going to be stronger or weaker. So there is actually a little bit of strategy to these little things early on. I'm just staggered inside this game. I've got as fantastic a head of hair as I do. I mean, his hairline is absolutely mad right towards the front. But let's actually get on then with some of these questions. So how are you going to approach taking on both roles at the same time between being a driver and the owner? Nothing easy is worth doing. I live for challenges. This isn't just about me. This is about the team, and I'm behind them 100%. Together we're unstoppable. Or I won't lie, it's been a lot of work, and there's even more to come. But if I wouldn't have taken on the task if I didn't believe in myself and my team, we're gonna try and hype up the team. We want to give ourselves the best standing position.
Track, you've signed a teammate too. What made them the right fit for this project?
Well, we'll be honest. That they looked good on paper, and Yumo Asa, has done very very well in FI Formula 2 last season. So yeah, we'll see. We'll say we got potential.
Tell me about the work on the car. Plenty done, plenty still to come. What are you prioritising in terms of development?
So, this actually means that you get a couple of extra upgrades for free at the start of the game, depending on which department you go with. Normally, powertrain has been the one you always have to focus on in these games. It gives you the most performance. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Until I remember that tyre management this year is going to be really, really important. So we're actually going to go with the chassis.
Now, your competitors are vastly experienced. You, by contrast, are a total newcomer. So can that be a good thing? What do you bring that's unique and special to the table?
Again, this is another one that just affects some minor performance tweaks to the start of the game. And we are going to focus, I think this time around we will go with the power unit side of things. A lot more complexity into the power unit, but we've found plenty of room to innovate our ERS system.
Now, ultimately, your success this season will be determined by the positions you can take from other drivers. So what's your focus in terms of clawing time away from the opposition?
And again, obviously, I believe one final one that might affect performance as well there. So we expect incredible top speeds on the straights. We're going to show up with a dragster with a bit of luck.
Now, ultimately, Formula One is a team sport, and you've had to assemble a team from scratch. So who are you most excited about working with this season?
And I reckon we'll try and keep it even. We'll go with the aerodynamic department. So, yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your time, and I think I can speak for all of us when I say all the very best for the season.
Well, here we go then. Back at base then. We'll get a proper look at the car and the team and everything like that and just see what we are coming into this first season with, of course. We've got, the simple things, your R&D management, your cash management, everything like that. And it looks like we have got 1,000 R&D as well heading into this first weekend.
And that's where these activities come in. Manage everyone's time as efficiently as possible to maximise the team's performance.
So we have got to be careful, of course, with all those kind of things. To anyone that obviously has played the game before, I don't really believe any of this has been changed, so we'll throw on a couple of extra things and taking a look at our inbox. You can see they're just getting some emails through about various bits and pieces as well. Then, of course, generally speaking, I try and do a lot of this kind of thing behind the scenes. So let's take a look at how we're looking performance-wise.
Some of our cash into upgrades for these facilities.
So, of course, yeah, these current results are subject, obviously, to change as well, as there will be tweaks and modifications made early on the game as well. So, Alpine obviously down with Visa, Cash App, and Haas. Just like we saw in the couple of preview videos I did last week as well, though. It looks like Williams and Kick Sauber have a bit of an advantage over everyone else. McLaren only P4, just ahead of Aston Martin. But you can see we have got some upgrades on the car. Upgrades seem to be slightly more expensive this year as well, so we're going to have to be very, very careful with those. We are going to try and get our first one on the car ready for the second weekend out in Jeddah. So, of course, yeah, it was, early on in the game, all those upgrades will be trying to go on thick and fast, and I don't believe we've got enough money to do anything early on with anything else. Maybe we can try and get a slightly better simulator or something. No, not quite. So we'll need to try and get some cash on hand from the first couple of weekends as well there. Maybe we can earn some more R&D to try and get another upgrade. No chance. We're only earning 150 a week, aren't we? As we head towards Sakir then. So sadly, there's still no winter testing or anything like that. I think could be a really, really cool feature to add down the line. But yeah, let's head then here to the Bahrain International Circuit. Here we go then. We get a bit of a look around the team hospital facility area as well. So we've got a couple of people either side. We've got a Yumu obviously on the other side of us as well. We'll try and take a look at some data from the team so we know what we're going into. But yeah, I think everything is all set up, ready to go. Obviously, we've got tutorials, that kind of thing. Double check. Luckily, yep, there is no rain heading into this weekend as well. But yeah, 212 Motorsport then at the rear of the field, at the bottom of the standings, everything like that. I'm excited, though. I feel that we're going to have a good journey ahead of us over, of course, a 24-race season. Clearly, they slightly need to tweak how that works as well, because apparently Qatar is the final race. The flags may be slightly too big for the calendar.
The long wait is over. This is it, a brand new season. And before the show gets well and truly underway, we've got the all-important matter of a free practice session. It's great to be back. So much unknown before we get underway. So what will be going through the drivers' minds as they get ready for the new season?
The faster you can work around the circuit conditions and get the car tailored to your liking, the better, and then you can just focus on the job in hand in terms of lap times. But first of all, you've got to get the car feeling right.
Well, it has been a very, very long time since I drove what feels like a very, very basic Formula 1 car. But of course, yeah, free practice, a good opportunity to try and earn more R&D, and also just get used to the car as well, of course. I'm going to be working on some setups that are going to be going up over the next few days and weeks as well. So obviously, when you guys dive into the game, hopefully you'll have a better understanding of what you are looking for in terms of car performance and how to hopefully try and make the cars a bit more drivable as well on this game. So plenty of things to hopefully make your lives a little bit easier as well. But hopefully these free practice programs aren't going to be too difficult. Obviously, first round of the season, I do like to put a little bit more emphasis on them. So obviously we get an idea of how the new car handles. But of course, as I mentioned in those two preview videos last week, the traction on F1'24 definitely seems a whole lot easier than recent years. The braking down there, though, absolutely doesn't. So managing that front right tyre is going to be... that inside front tyre, is going to be really, really difficult over the course of the weekend. I'll make sure I move the HUD around as well before we go into qualifying. But so far, this first practice program, we want to try and get as many R&D as we can. First lap then on the board, I believe we're going to get about 450 points. We only need another 20 if we want to try and get that purple score. So we just got to try and get turn 9 and 10 tidy this time. Well, one thing I'm immediately learning then, as we try and get some laps under our belt in this car, is although there's a lot more mechanical grip, and the cars, it's a lot easier to handle, definitely still feel like if you get the car upset, you upset the balance, it can be really, really difficult to try and get it back in line there. As second time round, we are going to get the purple score. But yeah, this game, I think more than any other we've seen in the franchise, is going to absolutely favour smoothness in your driving. So this test not only obviously lets you kind of work out how much battery charge you're going to be able to use, but also actually gives you a really, really good indicator of how much straight line speed you've got. And our answer so far is not much at all. 3/4 of a second down by the end of the first couple of straights. But hopefully we'll make up some of it through the twisty bits. To be fair, once we've made it through those first couple of corners, we've actually been able to keep up with the Delta pretty well over this lap there. A little bit of a snap oversteer through the final corner. But what you can do, sacrifice one lap you're not going to be able to get the speed on, and then basically mash the battery up towards the start-finish line there to hopefully carry a bit extra into your second attempt. Well, definitely seemingly running a lot more downforce than the game would like me to, but I'd rather have a more stable platform in this first round of the new season. Want to try and get to the end of our first race in one piece. Is this going to be enough, though, for the second practice program? Yes, it is. Half a tenth in it. But the overall pace is not looking fantastic. Awasa definitely still quicker than me. Well, final practice program then. I always like to leave the race simulation run until last, although really struggling there through the final corner. Yeah, now obviously you basically just got to try and do 3 laps at a decent pace towards the end of the session. Battery usage is back down to normal, so we're not going to lose loads of times down the straights. But it is just about consistently trying to manage things, so then the game knows what to recommend in terms of a strategy for the GP. This one feels a little bit more grindy than the others, but is probably the most important one to do when you head into a weekend. Well, making our way through the final corner then, definitely starting to build up more confidence with the car and appreciating how it's going to handle. I can't help but feel we might struggle a bit with qualifying pace, but hopefully this final program is going to be quite easy to do, and we'll get the maximum R&D. That's not a bad way to start this series. Well, again, I know I mentioned this in my preview videos last week, but at lowest speed, the front end still seems way too sensitive on this game. It feels like it will rotate around on you so aggressively, even with just a minor kind of correction. But making our way down in towards the final couple of corners, though this free practice session has gone pretty well, actually, in the grand scheme of things. I'm really happy with how, you know, we've been able to rack up some R&D. Only thing I am concerned about, tyre wear has been atrocious. We've put about 30% wear through these tyres in 3 laps, and the pace is still looking a bit away from the other cars, but I guess we'll only really know what the true pace is as we move into qualifying.
Under the bright lights of Bahrain, it is time for qualifying. Grid position up in the air. Who is going to seize the moment?
Well, I think the car looks pretty good then under the floodlights here in Bahrain. Our very first qualifying lap about to begin, and we're already having some beef with Valtteri Bottas, who was going to let me by and then clearly decided he didn't want to in the end. One of the good things about the one session qualifyings is, of course, you only really get the time to do 2, maybe 3 laps if you're at somewhere like Austria. But it really does obviously kind of prioritise getting a lap in and getting it done clean and tidy. It also does provide a little bit more drama. If someone messes up and things like that, it really can change the dynamic as you head into a race as well. Then you can already see Bottas pulling away so much down the straights. Sergio Perez, instantly in his Red Bull, goes top of the board. After a tough 2023, he'll be looking to try and kick on strong in the new year. Desperately trying to keep it inside track limits down at turn 9 and 10. It is not a corner that I'm having much luck on so far. So that's definitely, we know there's going to be a bit more time to find in the second lap. Top speed, though, actually doesn't seem horrendous, obviously, when we're, you know, using the battery, everything like that. But I definitely feel, yeah, this first round of the season, we might struggle against others, as Fernando Alonso, Aston Martin, clearly have brought some pace here to the desert. Fastest on the board so far. One more corner for us to navigate, though. Felt like a fairly tidy lap. I'm a little bit alarmed by how much we've lost to Valtteri Bottas, to be honest. As Verstappen goes fastest, we are going to be a good 3-4 seconds away. A 1:31.1, only good enough for 11th. And I think that's as many cars that have gone round. Well, less than a minute left then on the clock, and myself and a Yumo Asa at the moment look like we're going to be filling up the back row of the grid. I don't know what's worse, that fact, or the fact that I was a second slower than our Japanese counterpart after the first run. We definitely made some mistakes, though, but we were consistently about 3/10 down in every single sector around the lap, and now somehow I'm even slower down the straights. What is going on with that? Right, come on, turn 9, turn 10. Get it a little bit tidier. We know there's a good chunk of time to find through here. If we nail it, we found the apex, but it's still not a particularly good run. I mean, we are just not anywhere close enough to a Yumu at the moment. I think we're having to use a little bit of hot lap mode down the straights as well. Overtake mode even. Just try and carry a little bit more speed. I don't know how much of a difference it really makes, but 3/10 up though as we make our way in towards the final couple of corners. Oh, running wide there. That would be a lap invalidation IRL, but we'll get away with it. Clearly the game believes I lost a little bit of time by doing that, but one more corner to go. Yeah, overtake mode definitely does make quite a big difference then. We're going to find half a second. It is still not good enough, though. It is going to be last on the grid here in Bahrain.
Qualifying wrapped up, we now have our grid line up for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race.
Well, I tell you what then, as qualifying sessions go for a new era of Formula 1, that's not bad going. Max Verstappen, less surprisingly, takes the pole, but 5 cars from 5 different teams inside your top 5 there at the end of that session. Charles Leclerc, Fernando Alonso, as well as Norris, Hamilton and Russell, all not far away from the Dutchman there. Albon inside the top 10, just ahead of Bottas, as clearly Carlos Sainz has had a bit of a stinker. Those are the kind of little quirks you get by running these one-session qualifyings, obviously, because it means Carlos Sainz, he would have made it into Q2, and he probably would have got back up to pace by the end of that session there. But it's last and second to last for 212 Motorsports to kickstart the new year. So we have got our work cut out, and maybe, just maybe, we can try and keep up with Kevin Magnussen.
Months of rumour and speculation all comes to an end today as we return to racing for the opening event of what promises to be an enthralling season. Welcome along then to round one of this year's Formula One World Championship. Formula One returns to the desert today and this exceptional 3.36 mile circuit. 15 corners provide plenty of overtaking opportunities, and it could be a strategic race, this one, with Sakir notorious for eating up the rear tyres. Watch out for drivers managing their rubber at some point during the Grand Prix. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Fernando Alonso, Hamilton, Russell, Perez, Stroll, Oscar Piastri, Norris, Albon, Bottas, Sainz, Sargent, Gasly, Hulkenberg, Ocon, Tsunoda, Zhou, Ricciardo, Magnussen, Iwasa, and Mr. Monaco. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. Welcome to the commentary box. I'm Alex Shakes. Alongside me, a real authority on all things motor racing. It's a warm welcome back to Anthony Davidson. Well, welcome back. Let's start with a nice, easy question. How do you stop Max Verstappen?
That's what they're hoping for. And that's what we're hoping for as well in some ways, because we don't want to see just one driver or one team running away with it this season like we had last year or even the years gone by in this sport. Can we get to see a two-way or even a three- or four-way fight throughout this race today? Fingers crossed we'll get that.
Back of the grid, not great, I know, but let's just try and use the first lap to push your way up the order.
Well, I think we're all hoping, a bit like Anthony Davidson, that someone is going to be able to stop Max Verstappen over the course of this season. And look at that, the team not confident in my tyre-saving abilities, instantly recommending either a 2 or a 3-stop strategy here. We might try and go, soft and then medium to the end of the afternoon, but I really do feel it is going to depend on what happens early on with those soft compounded tyres. If we say do 8 laps on a set of softs, I don't know. We'll basically just try and go as far as we can on a set of softs and then go mediums from there. And of course, safety cars, red flags, everything like that could still happen as well over the course of the afternoon. I've got no idea how thirsty this car is going to be. It doesn't seem that the cars use as much extra fuel as they have done in my testing. So hopefully we're not going to run into a problem where we're trying to fuel save towards the end of the afternoon. But for the first time ever then in our F1'24 My Team career mode, it is 5 red lights. And it is lights out, and away we go there. Oh, hit the anti-stall almost as we went up into second gear. Daniel Ricciardo not getting a good start in his V-Carb car as Iwasa trying to look down the inside in towards turn 1. We're going to try and find an avenue around the outside there. A little bit of contact with the Dane of Kevin Magnussen. Somehow we don't pick up any damage in that moment. There's even more contact again with the Haas driver through the first couple of turns. Damage is definitely on. You watched me turn it on in the intro, so very, very lucky that we haven't suffered any problems there off the start as around the outside of my new teammate. So just making sure, of course, even if we can't really fight with anyone else this weekend, that we try and get the better of Iwasa then, as down the inside finally of Kevin Magnussen, and this time round, hopefully there's not even going to be some contact
Let's focus now for the rest of the race.
in the process, as he's not wanting to give up on it. Oh, I've got to be so careful of not locking up there as Zhou Yu. I don't think he was expecting me to have a look round his outside. Short shifting definitely doesn't seem as powerful as it used to be as well. And I must admit, that's been something I've been begging for years. So hopefully, we're not going to see that kind of slowly stamped out of the game as well further down the line. But we've made up some progress then. We're up inside the top 20 as we round our way through the final couple of corners of lap 1. But, you know, like we've kind of said, this first race is going to be a real testing experience. Kind of work out what the car's like, everything like that. You know, there's going to be a high emphasis on tyre management as well. Bahrain, this circuit really does absolutely destroy the tyres. I need to make sure as well for future episodes that I enable the full track map. Of course, yep, DRS now obviously enabled just on lap 2, so that's good. Especially obviously because we got a DRS zone down at this first corner. But yeah, there we go. No, it hasn't, apparently, so I don't quite know how that works. But yeah, Charles Leclerc leading off the start of this race, so good news for Charlie boy. As we are defending from Zhou Guanyu for all my life. At the moment, he's having to look down the inside of basically every corner he can, but we'll hang on for now. We're trying desperately to stay in the slipstream with Daniel Ricciardo up the road, but I think that V-carb is just about going to be able to pull away from me. Zhou Guanyu, oh, big lock-up again down at turn 1, and of course this year it means so much more. It's not just about maybe having a little less control in towards that first turn. Look at that tyre wear on the front left already up at 20%. After just 2 laps, Zhou Guanyu with that DRS will make the move happen. We think DRS as well seems more potent this year. But also not helped by the fact this car genuinely feels like it has no power whatsoever. We're going to keep trying to move the brake bias around just a little bit early on. Just so we can try and figure out, you know, these first few races I'm sure are very much going to be about trying to gain data as much as anything else. Working out what works with these cars. And obviously just trying to fine-tune everything we possibly can. I was hoping we could try and stay in the range of Zhou Guanyu early on in this race as Magnussen looks to be getting closer and closer. But I'm worried we're actually going to drop out of the range. I mean, we simply put just don't have any pace early on this afternoon. My only hope, of course, is that some of the other soft compound runners are also going to be two-stopping, as I'm adamant those 2 spheres weren't there in previous versions of the game. But here comes Magnussen, another pretty simple DRS move for the AI. We're now back down to 21st and 22nd place then in this Grand Prix. I really don't hope this first round ends up just being myself versus Oasa as we watch the rest of the field pull away.
Okay, be aware, the grip levels are going to start falling away soon.
That's not the message you want 5 laps into a Grand Prix. I mean, we are trying to be so careful on those tyres. Really trying to just make sure we're cadence braking in and being smooth on the steering as well. But I'm trying to keep up with the other cars in front. We're going through so much battery as well early on in this GP. But we might just have enough to stay with Magnussen. Oh, locked at the rears there slightly. Well, one of the things I've definitely noticed as well on this year's game, I didn't know if it was just something specific to Qatar, but it seems to be something that carries through. Battery management is a whole lot easier. You can use a lot more charge on this year's game as well. We were running down at like 5% going down the front straight in a desperate bid that I think has now failed to stay in Kevin Magnussen's DRS range. But immediately then at the first couple of corners, we were back up to like 30% charge. So you can be more aggressive with that, but certainly less aggressive on the tyres, as already then seeing cars into the pit lane. That is good to know. AI struggling as well then, so Joe Hulkenberg and Pierre Gasly, as well as Oscar Piastri into the pit lane very early on, and some of those guys were on mediums. I think sensibly then, we've done as much as we can with this first set of tyres this afternoon, although I have now finally got a Yuma Oasa out of the DRS range. But yeah, tyre wear warning light has just flashed up as well, so we'll confirm to the team we're boxing. We'll go over to a set of mediums and see how far we can take them into the afternoon. I would assume we might see some other cars into the pit lane as well. As one good thing then, I guess, is it looks like Magnussen started to struggle a bit with his tyres right towards the end of the stint. For a first ever pit stop, I'm pretty happy with that. But seemingly, yeah, the AI struggle as well a little bit with the wear on their tyres. So that's going to make things very, very interesting as Alex Albon there just tucks in into the pit lane behind one of the Hasses.
I know it's not ideal, but let's try and put that behind us now and get back into this race.
First ever pit stop on this game, and it goes wrong for us. That is just my luck inside these games.
One stop left.
Well, I was also hoping that maybe the battery pack would charge up in the pit lane, but that doesn't appear to be the case. Now we've got to try and get some laps under our belt and close back in on Zhou.
This is our true place here. They've pitted as well, so we've got to warm up our tyres and get the most out of it. Come on.
Interesting new radio message there from Mark. That one is going to be useful to know in the future. But hopefully our true pace isn't... I want to not finish last. That's all I really want from this first race. Well, a Yumu then has been confirmed in the pit lane.
We're on the same strategy. They've pitted as well as us, so warm up your tyres and make the most of this stint.
Mark, we get the idea. That's actually the third time he's told me this lap. So hopefully, despite the pit stop problem, we're still going to be ahead of our teammate, who makes his way back down the end of pit lane now. Yes, we are. So undercuts definitely seem to still be the way to go on this game. It was quite a nice little feature last year, but very quickly it felt like people worked a way around it. But we got 1.5 seconds over our teammate.
Reminder that you can play around with the RS modes in the MFD, or lift sometimes and ease onto the brake pedal for some manual recharge.
Yep, you know what we're doing, just leave me alone. I guess one of the other good things then, if we look at the 3 cars in front of us, all of them on different tyres. So I don't think the AI really know what to do in terms of strategy either here. Ricardo, he's definitely going to have to pit again. Magnussen is, because of course he started on the mediums. Zhou could theoretically go to the end of the race, but I would be surprised if we saw it happen. Well, there is a huge gaggle of cars just in front of us then. I believe that extends probably to about P13, P14 in the train. So we've got to be a little bit strategic with Owasa here and really try and help each other out. Because we have actually got the pace to close in on this group. The mediums feel a lot better than the softs did, as that is not the line I needed through turn 1. I'm sorry, Ayumu. Just squeeze him out over the exit curves of turn 2. Will he be able to get a run on me still? I don't want to crash with our teammate in our very first outing. Oh, come on, that is a terrible line up the top of the hill. And Ayumu is having to give me the space. This time round, Owasa might have me down in towards turn 1. No, he actually decides to sit in. So I don't know whether the team have told him just to hold station at the moment, let me drag us along, or whether he'd rather wait. So he's got the DRS up the hill, but Owasa seemingly cannot make the move on me. And he gains. But again, he's going to sit in behind. Oh, here we go. Owasa this time round surely is going to have me. So we make our way up to the top of the hill. We'll try and brake a little bit early. I just want him to actually make the move happen. But again, on round the outside, seems to be a lot of grip there at the top of the hill. The problem is now, is the AI have kind of sorted themselves out again. The gap is opening up. We cannot afford to spend all day battling each other. Oh, I mean, look at that. The sensitivity of the steering through there, I'm not convinced, is close to accurate. Here we go. Ayumu Owasa, third time's a charm, maybe? He has no confidence in the brakes up the top of the hill there. And you can just see again, this time around it's a bit more of an even run. We are going to be side by side into the S's. Whoa, as we run a little bit wide there. Backhand got a bit loose and lively. But every single time we're costing each other more time than we did the last lap. I mean, I don't want to just back out of it, because I'm not convinced he's got the pace to close in on the cars in front. That was scary. That could have been game over. Right then. That's my first really big mistake of the afternoon. And Owasa finally will say thank you very much. And for the first time since the beginning then, apart from obviously the pit stops.
In the wake of the car ahead. Try to get past as quickly as you can. Push.
I wonder if we're going to be able to try and move back past Ayumu in towards turn 1. But yeah, I've definitely upset these tyres with that little slip up there. Are we going to be able to try and use the DRS to get back past our teammate? It is the battle of the wooden spoon at the moment. Team want me in slightly earlier than I am intending to. To the outside of Owasa again. Maybe we can switch him off of turn 1. But of course, the problem is now the traction is so good. Very, very easy for him to put the power down despite being on the inside. We'll use the battery. We'll go to the outside up the hill. We've been here many, many times before, but this time around we've got the momentum. And I think as well, we've kept track position again. Magnussen, Sonoda, Esteban Ocon all into the pit lane then. As we cross onto lap 17. I want to try and get these tyres to the end of next lap before we decide to dive it into the pit lane.
We expect you'll be noticing a bit of grip loss in the tyres around now, so just be careful.
Yep, I certainly have. As once again, Owasa trying to make it happen, and once again, not going to make it easy for him. I've been very lucky this time round in the fact that we've ended up with the DRS. Maybe the one stop, you know, if you got a bit more information about the tyres, is viable. Maybe actually could have catapulted us up the order. Well, are we going to see a Yumu into the pit lane then as we start lap 18? Yes, we are. So it's a good job that I didn't want to box this lap, because we're going to get past Sergeant Ricardo and Sir Lance. Carlos Sainz, I don't actually think is still in the points so far this afternoon, so he's having an absolute stinker down at Ferrari. He's behind Bottas in that Kick Sauber car. I mean, Bottas, if this game is realistic, is due a 45-second pit stop.
Box now, please. Box this lap.
Yep, we are going to be box pit confirm, box pit confirm. I mean, what a percentage of these tyres where it's up to 70% on that front left. It has taken an absolute pounding again. But luckily, this final stint should hopefully be a tiny bit easier on them. I mean, unless we get a safety car, I'm not expecting anything crazy to happen towards the end of this race. I'm actually a bit worried that F1'S is going to get quite the undercut on me as well before we are done and dusted here. So we might be on a bit of a fight back towards the end of the race against our teammate. We'll run over some Haas mechanics as well, apparently. As where is F1'S then? To make our way back out onto the pit lane. F1'S is nowhere to be seen. There he is. Wonder if he had either a slow stop or just really struggled to get temperature into those hard tyres. But we are on the mediums again against his hards. So we've got to try and pull away, get out of the DRS. 9 seconds to Zhou Guanyu up the road though. This has been a tough opener and a bit of a wake-up call. But it is always nice to know that you're quicker than your teammate at the start of a new season.
The car ahead by 8.2 seconds.
Took almost a second out of Zhou on that lap. I know we lose a lot in the DRS zones. But maybe, just maybe, we could see him again before this race is over. We've really just got to try and lock in now. Well, I'll be honest, all those hopes and dreams of seeing Zhou Guanyu before the end of this race.
The pit window, you're going to be on softs. Okay, so we're leading our teammate by 1.9 seconds.
Well, I was hoping Mark then might let me get a word in edgeways. But yeah, that hope was pretty much evaporated immediately. Clearly it was just obviously the new pace on the fresh compounded tyres. The AI at the road is still just DRSing each other right towards the end of this race. So as long as we beat F1'S, I guess we can't be too disappointed. But yeah, we desperately need those early upgrades on the car.
Gap to the car ahead, 8.0
No.
seconds.
No! If that had been a mechanical failure then, I would have been really disappointed. DRS, though, issue late on in the day. I don't think that's going to make much difference at the moment. Well, making our way then down in towards the final corner to start the last lap of the Bahrain Grand Prix. We have certainly learnt a huge amount from this opening race of the new season. How to manage the tyres, just how beaten up that front left tyre has been, and also a lot about the car as well. I mean, I famously, throughout all of F1 23, would rather run a slightly higher downforce car to provide a little bit more stability that maybe comes at the lack of some top-end speed. That might be quite difficult to do, though, because this car certainly has got very, very little in a straight line. But despite perhaps making a wise choice to go on the mediums to try and break away from a Yumu, we've actually hung on very, very well, and I reckon had we been a little bit luckier today, we probably would have had the pace over Kevin Magnussen as well, because that gap has continued to either stay the same or drop towards the end of the afternoon there. Max Verstappen, though, to the surprise of probably no one, is going to come through to take the first Grand Prix victory of 2024 there. I could not tell you what the running order is at the front of the field, but as the fireworks are out here in Bahrain, you know, we got to look at the positives. We've been able to get both cars through to the checkered flag with not too many issues. The only kind of technical gremlin we had was that DRS failure a little bit earlier on in the evening, but the team were able to get that fixed. And as the night sky has descended upon the Sakir circuit, P21 and P22, not the ideal result. I'm sure we would have loved to try and beat at least anybody in this first Grand Prix, but we've learnt a lot, and I'm ready to come back stronger next time out. Through the final corner, we are going to survive the Bahrain Grand Prix, and honestly, I think as a new team to F1, we should be happy with that.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
Smiling faces on the pit wall then after that superb win here at Sakir, and rightly so. A brilliant effort from the whole team.
It's always great to kick off the season with a race victory. You hit the ground running, and it's really good for your confidence as well moving forward. It's so important to set off on the right footing, and that's exactly what they've been able to achieve today.
The drivers are en route to the podium as we speak. What a fantastic win for the Red Bull team. They've performed exceptionally today, keeping us firmly on the edge of our seats throughout the entirety of the race. Congratulations to everyone at the team. Been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action. Can't wait to see what's next.
Well, there we are then, the end of the Bahrain Grand Prix, and it is Max Verstappen who takes the first dub of the new season there. Pole position, fastest lap, and race victory then. Although Charles Leclerc was able to challenge him early on, I think pretty quickly the Red Bull driver was able to walk away at the front of the field. There, Hamilton was able to move through as Fernando Alonso and Aston Martin clearly struggled a bit with race pace there. Joining Charles Leclerc on the podium with Perez ahead of Norris and Fernando, Russell ahead of a recovered Carlos Sainz, Oscar Piastri, and then Valtteri Bottas actually able to beat Lance Stroll to take the final point for Kickstake Sauber. So they've actually got as many points as they do IRL in Formula One, at least prior to the Monaco GP. Albon beats out both of the Alpines in the end, narrowly missing out on points ahead of Sonoda, Sargent Hulkenberg, Ricciardo, Joe Magnussen, and then of course the two 2-2 motorsport cars at the rear of the field there. We did have a faster lap than Iwasa, and we were less than a tenth away from Magnussen as well this year. I reckon had we had a bit more luck, we probably had the pace to match him, and actually probably had the pace to match a lot of the midfield runners once we kind of got into a bit of a better groove towards the end of the race there. Of course, Drivers' Championship exactly the same as the race results there, and constructors-wise, Red Bull lead the way, Ferrari 1 point ahead of Mercedes, with McLaren ahead of Aston Martin there, and still Williams, Alpine, Visa, Cash App, Haas, and ourselves, of course, yet to get out of the starting blocks. But thank you all so much for watching this video. Quite a bumper first episode, I'm sure, of our all-new career mode. We'll be back, though, hopefully tomorrow, where we return to the Jeddah Corniche. That one, hopefully, is going to be a bit more fun, but I'm a little bit apprehensive with the lack of straight line speed. You guys will have to be there, and hopefully we'll score some points soon.